Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of the Legends of Sport podcast. I'm your host, Andy Bernstein. Today, we honor the legacy and memory of longtime NBA Commissioner David J. Stern. We first brought this episode to you in Season 2 back in April 2019 as an audio-only podcast. This interview was recorded a couple of months earlier in David's New York City offices, and luckily, we also shot video at the time. Well, now we have the ability to share the full podcast on both audio and video via our Legends of Sport YouTube channel. It was so great to chat with David that crisp winter day in his spacious Fifth Avenue offices. A huge thanks to his longtime assistant, Linda Tosi, for setting it up. I worked for David for his entire 30-year tenure as NBA commissioner from 1984 to 2014. In fact, I started with the NBA the year before he became commissioner. I will always be grateful to David for giving me the opportunity to work for him and the greatest sports league in the world. I grew up as a photographer and as a man under his mentorship and leadership. When I accepted the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame's Kurt Gowdy Award for Media in 2018, there was David, front and center, smiling at me like a proud parent as I made my speech. So many people in that room and throughout the world can thank David for their careers and for what the NBA became through his extraordinary vision. As my friend and New York Times columnist Mark Stein says, quote, David masterminded the NBA's transformation from a league in serious financial trouble to a multi-billion-dollar business that became the first North American sports league to be recognized as a truly global force. And just like with Magic, Larry, and Michael, you know exactly who I'm talking about when I say David, end quote. My longtime friend and colleague and current president of the Golden State Warriors, Rick Welts, says of David, quote, he would talk about the athletes, the beauty of the sport, and explain how we were going to create a business structure around this to make it a really good investment. He was mesmerizing when he would get in a room. You couldn't not believe him because of his passion, end quote. David was so gracious to write the introduction to my first book, NBA Hoop Shots, Classic Moments from a Super Era. Always be thankful to him for that. We covered so many topics in our chat that day, including his 3 most memorable moments during his time as commissioner and his controversial decision to allow Magic Johnson to play in the 1992 All-Star Game after being diagnosed with the HIV virus months earlier. In fact, Magic has said that David Stern, quote, gave me my life back, end quote. We talked about the impact of the Dream Team and David's vision of opening up the rest of the world to NBA basketball. During David's tenure, the NBA opened 12 offices in cities outside the United States and broadcast to over 200 territories in over 40 languages. He also helped found the WNBA and the NBA G League. Under Stern, the NBA led the way in digital sports content with NBA.com, NBA TV, and NBA League Pass. He also established the NBA's social responsibility program, NBA Cares. Among his many accolades, David was inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame and the FIBA Hall of Fame. Sadly, on December 12, 2019, David suffered a brain hemorrhage and died on January 1st, 2020, at the age of 77. In remembrance, all NBA teams wore black bands on their jerseys for the remainder of the 2019-20 season. David's death was the start of a really difficult and challenging year for all of us. So as we approach the 1-year anniversary of losing our dear friend and leader, we at Legends of Sport are happy to reprise this interview with all of you. Our love to David's wife, Diane, and their sons, Eric and Andrew. His memory and legacy will continue to shine within all of us. Well, this is a special occasion for me. I got to say, I've done a lot of podcasts, and to be sitting here with David Stern, my ex-boss. I still consider you my boss.
Of course I am.
Yeah, but what an incredible run.
Oh, come on.
I had working for you. Okay,
You're still running.
I am still running. I got to tell you a quote that Peter Guber told me. All right, because I interviewed Peter, who you know very well. It's about your age, I think. And he, he still works as hard as you do and I do and everybody. Acquired a lot, accomplished a lot. And I said, Peter, do you ever just want to like go off in the sunset and,
sail or play golf or whatever. He said, Andy, you got to remember one thing. When the rabbit stops running, it becomes lunch.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, that's words to live by.
Or stated differently, if you stop moving, you get old.
Yeah.
So you keep moving.
So is this why you're supposed to be retired, David?
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I didn't retire.
I mean, I was there when you actually retired from the
I
NBA.
never retired.
Yeah.
I stepped down.
You stepped down. Okay. And you
And
turned the keys over to
in
Adam.
my new office.
I love it. Yeah.
I'm a venture capitalist. I'm an investment banker.
Yeah.
I'm having a ball.
Yeah. It warms my heart to see so many memories that we shared together.
And you know what? These aren't even the best.
Yeah.
These are the ones that Diane said,
Yeah.
if you don't do something to your walls, I'm going to do it.
There you go.
She went through a bunch of boxes
Right.
and threw up those photos.
Well, they're pretty good.
Some pretty good ones.
Yeah,
They do
pretty
cover
good.
it. They
Pretty
do cover it.
pretty good memories. Yeah. So, David, Legends of Sport likes to. What we like to do with our guests is really get into like how you became who you became. Where it all started. All right. So I'm gonna go back to the beginning, if you don't mind.
Grew up in Chelsea.
Gotcha.
My dad's delicatessen was at 23rd Street and 8th Avenue.
Oh, okay. So the family's from the deli business.
Right. And we went to PS 11 on 21st Street and PS 3 at Hudson and Grove in the Village.
Yeah.
And then for, I think, 10th grade, we moved to Teaneck. Public schools were fun.
No, they were great. We turned out all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I managed. And used to go to the garden.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you, what sports did you like growing up? What did you play?
Basketball.
Yeah. Really?
Basketball.
Yeah.
A little bit of softball.
Yeah. Did you play stickball?
Yeah, sure.
Stoop ball?
Stoop ball.
Sure.
Off the wall.
Yeah. Right.
You have to adapt.
Yeah, right. But what kind of transpired for you not to get into the family business for your career and pursue law?
Well, that was easy. My father and mother, who both worked at the store, were determined that they were doing that so the kids would not.
Yeah, good point.
So I went to Rutgers, the State University from Teaneck, and then got into Columbia Law School off the wait list. And I still worked at the store in the summer times at Rutgers and the first summer at Columbia.
Oh, okay.
And then I had to go back for studies, and there I was. And
that's interesting.
And I got the opportunity to work on some basketball cases while I was at the Proskauer firm.
Right.
Including the Connie Hawkins
case. Yeah.
And by the time Larry O'Brien in 1978 asked me to come be the general counsel of the NBA, I was spending probably 85% of my time on NBA matters.
Okay. Yeah. So it's kind of a natural thing.
It was a natural.
But before you came to the NBA, you were involved in the merger, right? Or was that?
Oh, a lot.
Yeah. That was like
we didn't call it a merger. We called it the expansion of the NBA by the addition of 4 former
Got it.
ABA teams. We didn't want to get into antitrust trouble.
Gotcha.
But I was involved in the Hawkins litigation. I was involved in many other litigations. I was involved in, obviously, the litigation between the players and the owners, which was Robertson, the ABA, and the NBA, which was the ABA.
That's some big stuff,
and the settlement of all of the above.
How did the NBA decide which of those 4 teams were going to expand into? We're going to become part of the NBA. Like, was it a financial?
No, it was. There were
solvency
only 5
or
teams standing.
Oh, at that time.
By the time that happened,
right.
And the NBA decided they didn't want to accept St. Louis.
Yeah, right.
Which led to the arrangement between the Spirits of St. Louis and the 4 ABA teams that profited the owners of the Spirits of St. Louis greatly.
Yeah.
Actually, I think that some of the NBA owners were coveting the players on the 4 teams.
Oh, okay.
If we went over a list now, we would see, names that your listeners may not recognize, like Artis Gilmore or Maurice Lucas.
Sure. Moses
Malone. I mean, it was incredible.
Was Julius? It was Julius Erving, and
Julius was there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Incredible.
although Julius was on the Nets, so he
Yeah.
wasn't going. He was going to come in with the Nets,
Right.
So he wasn't one of the roster of players that were left over. But
Interesting.
We had a lot of fun. I was
Yeah.
there when that was negotiated. I heard Roy Bowe offer Julius's contract to the Knicks as compensation for letting the Knicks in, letting the Nets in.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And to his credit,
Yeah.
or maybe not to his credit, Mike Burke, who was then running
Sure.
the Knicks, said, "No, that's kind of corny,
Yeah.
Roy.
That's not going to happen." So 78, you're working at the league. The league was kind of a mess, right? I mean,
Yes, I was the 24th employee.
oh my God! Wow, I wonder what number I was in, like the low hundreds, I think. But there was a lot to do. I mean, the league
There was
was.
a lot to do. We were trying to stay alive.
Yeah.
Basically.
Sure.
I can't remember precisely, but I think it was about that time that Rudy Tomjanovich was decked. by
Yes,
Kermit
Kermit. Yeah,
Washington
yeah.
And severely injured.
Yep.
And basically, the storyline of the day was the NBA is too black, too violent, and America will never accept a black sport that's that violent.
And there was like drug issues and all kinds of stuff going on.
That's right.
Right?
All kinds of issues.
So, okay.
But
so
it
you
got us into the national newspapers.
Yeah.
With some
well,
regularity.
they say any publicity is good publicity.
Well,
I don't know if that's
exactly,
true.
yeah.
But, I remember, honestly, and I know I'm telling you something you already know, but I remember having to watch the finals on CBS on time delay, right? It was on like 11 o'clock at night.
That went to 1980, 81.
Yeah.
So it would be the 81 finals. In fact, in 80, if you wanted to see Magic Johnson lead the Lakers to I guess it was a 6-game win over Philly,
right,
and dedicated the win to the big fella who had to stay at home. If you lived in New York, you got to see the game at 11:30 at night on tape delay.
Unbelievable.
It really was.
I mean, can you sit back right now in this awesome view in this awesome office and really take it in? I mean,
I don't.
I mean, you don't really. I mean, everything you accomplished.
I'm always looking at tomorrow.
Yeah, I respect that. But the legacy that you left, I don't want to get into like the minutia of your history because we all know it.
No,
but just the growth of the game is just astronomical.
No,
I mean,
we had an enormous amount of fun.
I can attest to that.
Said to me, what about this guy or that guy? I said, he's not enjoying it as much as we did.
Yeah.
Because we had a real sense that we could do anything. Who knows what we really could have done.
Sure.
But the owners didn't really care about the sport that much.
Yeah.
They left it to us.
Yeah.
And we went out there.
Yeah.
You name it along the way. Let's have a slam dunk contest. Let's have a 3-point shot contest. Let's make All-Star into a weekend. Let's make it into a week. Let's have an international game. Let's do crazy stuff.
Well, one of your skills, and having worked for you for a long time and been around you, I mean, you were an incredible judge of character and people to put around you, surround yourself with, who really knew what they were doing.
The best.
I mean, everyone from Rick Wells, of course.
Russ Granick.
Yes.
Then Adam.
Yes, and Val Ackerman, of course. And, all friends of mine as well. A few of those people have been on the podcast. We've talked about when she was told that she was going to be the president of the WNBA. She wasn't asked. She apparently was just instructed that she was going to do it. Yeah.
She had threatened bodily harm to a number of people.
Right.
We didn't have a WNBA or Carol Blazejowski, but it was a natural, and she did a great job.
Yeah.
Look at that. It's in its 23rd year.
Oh, it's unbelievable. I've had Tamika Catchings on the podcast. She talked about, Swin Cash was on, I think we're going to get Lisa Leslie soon, about the fact that what that did for them as young athletes, young female athletes, the fact that they knew they could aspire to a professional league.
It was an amazing time. It really was fun.
Yeah. And I, myself with 3 daughters, now a little one who plays soccer and basketball, to know that, you can be on the same footing as the men, that there's support for that, and they have role models.
Well, we'll see. There's a little rumbling there, but I read in the newspapers about their unhappiness with the amount of money they're paid, etc. But I hope it's ultimately smoothed over.
Yeah.
And right now, the league, all the leagues are in great shape because under the leadership of Adam Silver, it just keeps going up, up, and up.
Well, as my mother used to say, you set the table.
I said, okay, I set the table.
Right, you set the table.
Okay,
I mean, you made that.
But they're taking it to another level.
Yes.
I'm really enjoying it, watching it.
Right.
I'm enjoying their success. I think it's great.
How often do you go to games? I see you every once in a while when you're coming through.
I fell victim. If you have a 70-some-odd-inch screen in February, and it's nice and warm inside, I don't find any great reason to go to a game.
Yeah.
So I go to a couple of games.
I'm sure you get invited all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
I did go. Actually, I went to a playoff game this past year in Utah. I was on my way.
Oh, I saw you there. That's right. Yes.
I was on my way to California.
Right.
And that's the building. I hadn't seen the rebuild, and that's the only building that has my signature on the I-beam.
Really?
I went up at a cherry picker with Larry Miller.
Hey, really?
He signed it. I didn't look down.
Yeah.
I didn't look down.
Do you remember the old Salt Palace in Utah?
Of course I do.
Yeah, they had an asbestos ceiling. It's amazing I'm still alive.
I think we might have had an all-star game in the old Salt Palace.
I think that might have been before my time, because I don't remember that. But my memory is shot anyway.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Okay.
Yeah.
But they played the same game.
Yeah, for sure.
I remember them all.
Yeah. What are you most proud of, David? Give me like the top 3 from your legacy.
3.
Yeah.
I would say number 1 is the current reputations of our players. I like to say they were in the basement of the celebrity pyramid when we started, and now they're at the top of the celebrity pyramid. They have more Instagram followers and Twitter followers, and you name it, likes and YouTube, whatever. Right. And they're very respected. And that's very important to me. Yeah. Number 2, I would say, is what happened with Magic. More specifically, that we were able to participate in changing the debate about HIV and AIDS, because the stricken figure was a beloved sports figure, and that helped me to understand the power of sports. And number 3, inspired by that and by a visit we had with Nelson Mandela in 1993 in South Africa, where he said he thought that sports can change the world. And he lived it. You saw Invictus, you saw the movie, talk about this, this African man going out there to support a mostly all-white team to bring a country together. And that led to NBA Cares and the whole idea that sports should be a prod and an instrument of good in the community and in the greater community. Those are sort of the 3 things. I change them every day when people ask me, but those are pretty near the top.
Let's talk Magic and the whole everything that happened in 91 and 92. Magic and Isaiah have both been on my podcast. They both talked at length about their relationship, but also that iconic 92 All-Star game. The fact that Magic retired abruptly. There were players that wouldn't play with him. They were very vocal. You took the bold step to allow him to play. You asked him to play, right? And he did play.
It was Magic.
Yes, of course.
I didn't ask him to play. I asked him whether he wanted to be on the ballot, and sure enough, he got elected to the team. Yeah. And then, very graciously, Tim Hardaway, who was elected as a starter, gave up his spot.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Magic. Right. That's right. That was a great move.
Some of it is confusing because Magic came back after that.
Right. Right. But for all intents and purposes, I mean, you remember, obviously, the press conference in November 91.
I do.
And the fact that there was so much misinformation, really, about HIV and AIDS, that a lot of people thought we wouldn't be seeing this guy who we loved
That was
past Christmas.
misinformation. That was the state of the medical situation.
Right. Did you feel
We all
that?
believed that Magic
Yeah.
was simply going to die.
Yeah. Soon, quickly.
Well, whether it was quickly, but he was going to wither
Yeah.
on the vine and be gone.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and thought that he was sort of boldly boasting
Mm-hmm.
that he was going to beat this
Yeah.
thing. We said, "Oh, that's nice."
Yeah.
But no one believed it.
Yeah. And you
We
included. You.
I think that's right. I
Yeah.
think that we knew that there were new therapies being
Mhm.
developed. We knew about Dr. David Ho.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, we had invited him to an earlier physicians meeting to talk about the general subject.
Mm-hmm.
So we weren't. This wasn't our first rodeo, so to
Yeah,
speak. But it was heartening to see Magic, able to play.
Mm-hmm.
And it was heartening to be the one photo I like to hold up. I don't think I have it here,
Mhm.
but it's me hugging him
Mm-hmm.
at the All-Star game,
Mm-hmm.
sort of in support of the proposition
Mm-hmm.
that sweat does not transfer the HIV virus.
Just that one act of hugging him, and then the players embracing him at the end, right? Isaiah.
And then he played in the Olympics.
Then he played in the Olympics.
Damn it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the
Yeah.
Australian team said they weren't going to play against him.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. But there were guys on during that that All-Star weekend who had been vocal about not playing with him, not being on the same. And Isaiah told a story. You probably know this, but I didn't know it, and I don't think my listeners knew it. That Isaiah called a meeting with all the guys. I think he was the president of the Players Association, and they voiced it out privately that the night before the All-Star game, that not only you guys are going to play, but at the end you're all going to hug him, and I'll lead the way, and he did. But it's a beautiful thing, and it's a beautiful memory, and the way that ended, with he and Isaiah
shot.
mano to
He
mano.
gets the MVP.
That was
award.
beautiful.
Oh my God, it couldn't have been better scripted.
Yeah, my
Someone's
favorite.
going to make a movie out of it someday.
They really should. I mean, that, and people ask me all the time my favorite NBA memories. That moment, and then Kobe scoring 60 on his last game. It was, to me, 1-2 right there. Pretty amazing.
I prefer defense.
Yeah.
I think
Right.
that they may be let up on it a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not a big
Yeah.
fan of the All-Star game 190 to 178
Mm-hmm,
or people going
Yeah.
for the 60 or 80.
60.
Oh, 60.
Yeah, well, you had 81, years before that. But, well, David, I got to tell you, from the guy who was like on your hip for so many years, I never saw a person work a room like you did.
As hard as I did, right?
No, it never looked hard though. But and you talk to everybody, and you always have like you look people in the eye, and you never just like blow through the room and like, okay, on to the next thing. It always impressed me, and I was always trying to be very careful not to be a distraction, of course. But
we as I said, we had a good time.
yeah.
And we were building something.
Mm-hmm.
And, I remember being in a parking lot in Massachusetts, it'll come to me,
Uh-huh.
with David Beckerman, who was then running starter,
Sure, I remember David.
picking the color out. He couldn't match the Celtic color for his satin jacket.
Unbelievable.
Okay?
Yeah.
And so I got to know David,
Yeah.
and I got to know all the licensees.
Sure. Sure.
The guys that did rugby shirts, guys that did T-shirts.
Those maniacs from Salem, remember?
Salem.
John Costacos, all these guys.
John just sent me his new
book is amazing.
A book.
Yes,
He
I love
He
it.
sent me a nice email. We communicated again.
Yeah, he wants to do a poster of you. You know that, right? He's been trying for like 30 years to do
I may not
it.
endorse it. I may, I do most of that royalty free. I just got a note from the NBA PR.
Mm-hmm.
Nike wants to do another ad, and it's in the original ad. I
Mhm.
appeared twice,
Oh yeah.
so I have
Okay.
to sign off. I said, of course, I'm signing off. There's David Letterman.
Yes.
The top 10.
Right.
Okay, we had fun.
You did the top 10 on David
I
Letterman.
did do the top.
What
10.
was the top 10 of? Do you remember?
Oh,
I gotta go. I
it was
have
an
to
NBA
YouTube
thing. It was
that.
NBA related.
That's
it wasn't,
great.
It wasn't. We didn't write it. They wrote it for me, and it wasn't.
Was it fun?
No, it was fun to do it. Sure,
Yeah.
it's good to do. Why
I
not?
bet it would be fun.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. I mean, I'm just looking up here at these photos, David. I mean, NBA, the 50 greatest.
That was fun.
That was unbelievable.
That was a moment for me because,
Yeah.
in effect, I think I would take credit for being the executive producer of that. And there were early plans. There were going to be balloons and confetti, and I said, no. We're going to find a way to introduce these guys as close as we can to the uniform that they wore. That's why the jackets.
Yeah, the Jeff Hamilton jackets,
yes,
right?
And we're going to introduce them one last time because it's likely that some of them will never be around.
Right.
And so that was a big deal. And we did it. And it was great. It was a great moment.
Probably one of the most stressful team photos I ever had to take in my life. Nat Butler was the architect of kind of putting it choreographed, but we backed each other up.
Ladders and all kinds of stuff. I remember.
Just a teeny bit of stress, David.
Yeah, no. Hey, that's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
Makes the draft look easy.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to get into talking about China specifically. We are partnered Legends of Sport with a company in China, a new platform, and the NBA, as you know, is so loved in China. By far the biggest Western sport that they adore over there. I mean, it goes without saying that you're the architect of bringing the NBA to China. I mean, I think, what year was it? It was 99, that first trip?
It was earlier. It was 88 or 90.
Right.
When we went to visit CCTV.
Right. And you made that deal with them. Right.
And then that's when I went to China for the weekend because we were in Japan. We were in Tokyo.
Right, at the Japan games.
At the Japan, the first Japan game.
Right, I remember that.
I think it was 1990. We had Phoenix.
Right.
And Utah.
Yes.
And you haven't lived until you're in an elevator with Mark Eaton, and the door opens, and a poor Japanese man and lady faint because they're just the largest human being they've ever seen.
It's so funny you mentioned it because Mark was on my podcast and talks about that moment. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So
about being in Japan.
I'm not hallucinating about it.
Right. Yeah.
And I say to somebody, do you know why we did that?
Yeah.
They said, why is that? I said, I have no idea. I can't remember. We just decided to do it.
Yeah.
So when you tell people that we played regular season games in Tokyo in 1990, holy Moses, were we stupid.
Yeah, I mean, that was a bold move. I mean, the teams probably pushed back on it, I would think, because of the travel and the games count. So
Yes. And every time they lost
a
game during the regular season,
they pointed
they
at.
said that they did it because they were forced to go to Japan.
Yeah.
I guess it was, was it Cotton Fitzsimmons?
Yes.
It was Phoenix.
And it was probably Frank.
Maybe Frank.
Yeah.
And they were like, they weren't huge and ardent fans of that trip. Lo and behold, I'm in Utah when the playoffs start, and who are they playing?
Yeah.
Phoenix.
There you go.
Come on, guys. Let's agree that whoever loses this playoff series will not playing the opening season games in Japan.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been
and we
fair.
did it for a number of years.
Yeah.
We really, we took Shaq and Kevin Garnett one year.
Sure. I was at all of those.
Sonics and Clippers.
Yeah.
I mean, Houston.
Now it's an every year thing, the China games.
Yes, but then it was the Japan games. Now it's the China games.
Yeah, unbelievable.
In China, and it shows you how far the country has developed, we did the games in 2004 with Houston and Sacramento.
Right, yes.
With Yao.
With Yao.
And I tell everybody, first we went to Shanghai, and the arena was in good shape. All we had to do was add the floor, the backboards, the lighting, the sound system, and revamp the locker rooms.
Yeah, there's a few little items.
Ready to go.
Yeah.
And then we moved on to Beijing,
right,
where I sat in the same seat that Mao Zedong sat in the People's Hall.
I remember that, yes.
Can you imagine that?
No. I can't imagine I actually was there too.
What were we doing there? What were you doing there? I know what you were doing. I don't know what I was doing.
Well,
but it was great.
So that leads me to the question, what was the vision? Like, what was the intent? I mean, obviously a gigantic audience, but was it risky to go over to China to try to open it up to the NBA?
I don't think so. I think the only risk, as other leagues have learned, it's not so easy to mount games. But when you've got Ski Austin, who's the head of events, and his crew of trusted aides.
Incredible.
They make the impossible happen. And the idea was that there's a world out there. We're going to test it a market at a time because there are ultimately going to be 300 and some odd million television homes in America,
Mm-hmm.
and there are going to be many more than that, times that, outside the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to prepare ourselves for the day that's happening.
Yeah.
The day that's going to happen. And it happened.
Yeah.
And it's happening because streaming is changing everything. And what I pointed out to people is that our league pass was a, quote, over-the-top product.
Do you feel like your vision has been met or has been exceeded? Or
It's been exceeded.
In China, I'm talking about.
All over the world.
Mm-hmm.
In China, Adam and I used to say, we have 150 people in China. We don't know whether we should have 150 or 1,500.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The market is that large.
Right.
That
Right.
Nike and Adidas and others have their own thousands of shops in shop.
Mm-hmm.
There are all kinds of business. And of course, the internet has taken off in China as well, so that our games are seen not only on CCTV, but on Tencent and others.
Right.
So I'd say it's been exceeded. We had one academy. I don't know how many academies they have there now.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are academies. There are schools.
Yeah.
There's junior NBA. There's junior WNBA.
Right.
It's being grown upon and dramatically.
Yeah.
And the NBA is doing a great job.
I mean, didn't it blow your mind? It did me mine. I mean, to go to Europe for the first time when we went with the Celtics in '88 to Madrid, and then we go to Japan, and then we go to China, and you see the NBA everywhere. Every kid is wearing a jersey.
Yeah.
The fathers, the sons, even the grandfathers. Everybody's. It was just
interesting.
Incredible.
Yeah, I can't explain it, but I taught myself to take it in stride. Let's just go on to the next one. In 1988, I think I remember a trip that you didn't take.
To Russia?
Russia.
No, I didn't take that one.
You see,
I missed that one. Didn't make the cut.
We went with the Atlanta Hawks.
Right.
They played games in Moscow, in Tbilisi in Soviet Georgia, and in Kaunas in Lithuania. Along the way, this was 88, I think.
Yeah.
Summer of 88. We went on a sort of a quasi-expedition with the head of Gazcom Radio to Kaunas, which was the sort of the Indiana of, that's where Marshallonis and Sabonis came from.
Right.
And we sit down in the city hall, and I'm introduced to the head of the Communist Party of Kaunas, and the head of the Basketball Federation of Kaunas, and the head of the Basketball Federation of Lithuania, and the head of this and the head of that.
Yeah.
We exchanged dishes and other things that I can't possibly carry back with me. And after the conversation gets started, one of them turns to me, I can't remember which one, and says, do I, David Stern, think it's fair that the Portland Trailblazers have Arvydas Sabonis on their draft list, and they don't have any room under the salary cap to sign?
Okay.
I said, holy Moses, what is going on here?
Yeah.
And where do they get this from?
Exactly.
And, USA Today comes a week late. The International Herald Tribune comes 10 days late.
There was no internet. There was no
internet. What's going on here? And so I knew that's when the flash went off. There's a business here. There's a unifying force on a global basis that sports always is. And it is. The world stops during the World Cup, stops during the Olympics.
Right.
And we got a chance to experience it. When we went to Tbilisi, the biggest hand was for Spud Webb.
Yeah. Why do you think that is?
Because there were pirated tapes from Turkey playing in Georgian television, showing him winning the slam dunk contest.
Unbelievable.
So that whole trip was like, oh my God, there really is something going on here that I better understand. I don't quite understand it, but it's really interesting. And so there we were. I would say the one thing we didn't contemplate, in 1984, which was the weekend just before I became commissioner, but I was running the weekend, we had an all-star weekend. And my ingenious idea was we should have an old-timers.
Oh, yeah. I remember that, yes.
And I don't know how many ACLs and Achilles were popped. Because we hadn't taken into account the fact that the competitive spirit of our guys doesn't age
Yeah.
while their bodies do.
I remember
It was
Rick
a
Barry
fiasco.
treating it like he was still playing,
Yeah, it was- and
10
even
years ago.
Cousy was like
Yeah.
passing behind his back and doing
Right.
things.
Yeah.
And our insurance agent said, David, that's it. That's
Yeah.
okay. You know,
It was a good idea.
it was a good idea.
I mean, kind of borrowed from baseball, an old timers
Yeah,
game.
yeah.
But
Oh, yes,
but it's-
that's right.
Physically, it's a lot different.
We all borrow
Yeah.
from each other. There were no trade secrets.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
watch
yeah.
what's going on, and you borrow. And in fact,
Yeah.
two names that today fans may or may not remember. Pete Rozelle of the NFL was so gracious in welcoming a new commissioner, or even before I became commissioner, just what do you need to know, David, etc. And
Yeah.
Bowie Kuhn, who was the commissioner of baseball,
Uh-huh.
was the same way.
Yeah.
So, and as was John Ziegler, the commissioner of hockey.
It's interesting because somebody from the outside might think there's like competition and one league wants to be better than the other and have, better TV deal or whatever. But you all needed each other
over
and
time,
continue to, right?
Over time, you realize that what happened was if somebody did a great deal, that meant the price went up and certain other networks didn't make the deal for the next one. We were usually the next one.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
Back in those days.
But then the NBA set the bar, right?
Yeah.
With that huge TV deal, and then the next
Correct.
huge
Adam
TV
did a
deal.
great deal.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we began to climb up.
Yeah. And you feel the game is healthy right now.
Oh, I think
it's fun to watch for you.
It's very healthy. In fact, you know what's interesting? Although it's not intended that way, a lot of the commentators are saying that even during Super Bowl week, there's so much attention paid on where Anthony Davis is going to go, and whether Kyrie Irving will stay in Boston, that it becomes sort of I call it the digital water cooler.
Yeah.
Everyone is busy.
I like that term.
It's good
Did you
stuff.
make that up?
I did.
That is actually good. You should trademark that.
I delivered it at an Advertising Age conference about
The digital
10 years ago,
water cooler.
and nobody thought it was anything.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
You can have it. I hereby transfer all rights.
I will trademark that and attribute it to you, my friend.
ahead.
I need to ask you another China related question about Yao Ming. First of all, do you remember hearing about or seeing Yao as a young player for the first time?
Oh, sure. I remember hearing about it. In fact, I don't take notes, but I met with someone who was the owner, or purported to be the owner, of the Shanghai Sharks when Yao Ming was playing, I guess, for them.
Yeah.
And so we were all sort of waiting for when the event would occur, that the communist nations would allow their players to go. And we didn't want to seem too hungry because we didn't want to pay for the right. And so we knew that Yao Ming was going. And I guess I must have seen him World Championship.
Yeah, probably, yes.
Something like
somewhere along the way. Right.
We were very busy.
Yeah.
He wasn't drafted till 2002 or something.
Yeah,
like that.
something like that.
So
yes.
we had already been to the Worlds in Toronto. We had been to the Olympics in '92. So you begin to hear, and in '96,
right,
and in 2000. So you begin to hear things and understand things. And the one thing we were determined to be, and I think Adam has grown on this and made it much better, we were determined to be good fellow travelers on the basketball scene on a global basis.
Okay.
So we were, I began going to all of the European Final Fours.
Right.
And they were nice to me.
I'm sure they were.
After a while, I would give a joint press conference with Boris Stankovic.
Right. Yes.
And the NBA was present.
Yeah.
And we were respectful of them. Some of the FIBA board members were not as respectful of us. They kept warning the enterprise that the NBA was here to take over European basketball. Nothing could be further.
Yeah. I mean, the NBA only enhanced what was going on in Europe
and we
and globally.
We didn't want to involve ourselves.
Yeah.
With the French Federation, which is funded by the French government, by the Spanish League, which has to have legally embraced franchises under an act of parliament, and we were having enough trouble on our own.
Yeah. Going back to Yao for a second. So fast forward to now and what Yao is doing in China. I mean, he played for the Shanghai Sharks and he owned the Shanghai Sharks. Now he's the head. He's like the David Stern of China.
You know, I have a photo someplace. I don't know where it is. Of me standing down in the lobby or here with him.
Yeah. Well, you have a photo up here.
No, that's from '92 or someplace.
And then I took the photo of you guys on the playground somewhere in China.
Yeah.
With him basically dunking on you. That was hilarious.
I could take it now. Slow it down.
Right.
He probably put on some weight. I don't know. But he came and spent several hours here.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me how to be a commissioner.
Really?
Oh, sure.
He's such an interesting guy, isn't he?
Sunday night, he said he was available Monday. I said, no problem. Blow out the day.
Yeah.
And he's a real student of the game.
Yeah, he has a lot on his shoulders. I mean, it feels like when I'm around him, I can really feel like this weight of, you know, he doesn't have your personality. He doesn't have Adam's. He's kind of a quiet, kind of shy guy.
He's a smart guy. He's studied.
Right.
And we communicate. I congratulated him when he graduated and got his credits.
Yeah. I
guess it was Shanghai.
You have to come try his winery when you're out in Northern California. It's beautiful.
Notifications, the Yao family winery.
Yes, it's great. It's fantastic. A couple more questions. I really need to ask you, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you have a favorite photo of mine that just sticks with you? I mean, you've been so gracious and generous.
Because you've been so gracious to me and given me books.
Yeah.
Have photos, and I look at them and I stop and say, "Oh, that's a great one.
Yeah.
What are we doing there?" I think maybe the one you took one with me in the San Diego chicken.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing.
That was kind of funny. What am I doing with the San Diego?
I don't know what you were doing. I still don't know to this day.
But there we were.
Yeah.
And of course, the other photos.
Yeah.
And they all come together.
Mm-hmm.
The MVP presentations, the quiet ones that we would do, both on the court and in the back room, and the ring presentations. And, you know, we did it in a certain way.
Yeah.
It's changed a little bit as the teams have taken it over.
Right.
As opposed to us running it.
Sure.
Adam permits more democracy than I did. But I love them all.
Yeah.
I mean, there it is with Larry or Magic or Dr. J or you name it.
Crazy, right?
It was great fun.
I have to tell you a story you probably don't know about an MVP photo that I took. So do you remember coming out to LA when Shaq won his MVP? And we had to shoot it in the Sparks locker room, which is a very small locker room, very low ceiling. So I had to have him sit on a stool, and I had you is this coming back to you? I had you not behind, but next to him, very tight. There were 30 people in the room behind me. I mean, it was a closet, basically.
Standing.
And do you remember what happened? You probably don't remember.
No.
So get you guys in place.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is a stressful thing for me to begin with, okay?
You stress too much.
Well, you know, I take my thing seriously.
That's why we love you.
And you guys are in place, and I'm not taking the photo. And I could see that, you know, people behind me are just like fuming. And seconds are going by, and you look at me and with that look, and you said to me, he said, "Is something wrong, Andy?" And I'm like, "Well, is everybody ready in the photo?" Because I wasn't shooting it. And you know what was going on? You couldn't see it, but Shaq was giving me the finger.
I see.
Holding the trophy with you over here, and you couldn't see it.
I see. Well, that sounds like Shaq.
And I looked at him straight. I said, "Mr. O'Neill, are you ready for the photo? Because Mr. Stern is ready." And he wouldn't stop. I almost killed him afterwards.
I don't remember that. No, okay.
But that's the story.
That's the story.
I aged.
Sounds like Shaq.
I think I lost like all the hair I had at that point. But anyway.
No, it's you know, I used to very much enjoy those moments.
Well, it's a pinnacle, right, of a season of a guy's.
And they'll never forget it either.
But how about a photo of mine without you in it? All right, one of the photos, and maybe as you have said, very generously have defined an era or a time in the NBA or a memory. I mean, a few come to my mind that you've actually spoken about.
You were at the forum, taking photos without me, capturing the scene that was the forum.
Mm-hmm.
That was a moment in time.
Yeah. That
no one will ever quite understand.
Yeah, it was an amazing place for sure. Yeah. That's where I shot Michael Jordan, 91, with the trophy with his dad, which, if I had to, I have 4 kids, so I can't pick one, but if I had to pick one photo, that would be the one I'd point to.
We were in the locker room with Diane was there.
Yeah.
With Bill Davidson's wife, I think, hiding behind the curtain.
Right.
And there was Brent Musburger. I'm making this all, strange champagne around.
It was crazy.
I didn't know whether I was going to wear a raincoat or not because it was nuts.
Right.
And then Red Auerbach,
Yeah.
practically grabbing the trophy from me. I wouldn't give it to
Yeah, right. I remember that. What was that, 86 possibly?
I
do remember it.
Years, but I remember, give me that thing. No, Red, you're going to have to wait until the photographer can take it when I hand it to you.
How crazy was it for the NBA to do those trophy things in the locker room? Seriously, in those days, in those teeny little locker rooms.
But people thought it was crazy when we began giving it out to the visiting team.
Yes. Yeah.
On the floor.
On the floor. That's true.
Said, let's go for it, guys.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? Blow us out?
Maybe.
They tried, but they didn't.
Right.
We began doing it there because it deserves a broader setting. A
broader stage.
And then, but I always worried about the wrong things. I mean, in Boston, we said we got to keep the fans off the court. And so we would get security and put up ropes.
Didn't work.
It never worked.
No, I got trampled in Boston in '84. Yeah. It was literally, it was like fear for my life.
Okay, there it was.
Right.
And then the crowds on the street went crazy when they won.
Yes, yeah. Well, the Lakers in 2000. And,
I remember that.
That was nuts.
That was frightening.
That was pretty crazy. They kept us, they locked us in Staples Center until...
Well, that's because they put up the screens outside.
Yeah, I know. It was not the most prudent idea of all time.
Right. Well, either it wasn't or it was.
Yeah.
These are all building blocks in a phenomenal
time.
You get to still do it. How many years have you been doing this?
This is my 37th year, David.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, it's really unbelievable. I mean, I'm shooting guys' kids playing, I mean, Luke Walton, God bless him, was 4 years old when I met him, tagging along with his dad, Bill, in '84. Steph Curry, I met him, I think he was 2 years old when his dad was in the three-point contest in Charlotte.
Could he shoot?
They probably could shoot,
Okay.
Anyway, it's been a great run. Still doing it. They still want me around.
And
Thank
it
God.
really is. We coined the phrase the NBA family.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's very true.
Yeah.
The NBA family comes together in moments of crisis or pain.
Yeah.
Or tragedy.
I agree. I mean,
we live it.
And this has been a great forum for me to reconnect or just stay connected with people like yourself.
Excuse me. Yeah.
With people like yourself or Val or Rick or Rod or whoever. Thank you, my friend.
It's always a pleasure.
It's so great.
And I expect you to be doing this for another 30 years.
Oh, God bless you, David.